Oilers, you got a great offense with Connor McDavid. So I have them sweeping them.
Yeah, well, I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have 3 more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So, yeah.
It's hard to get back and to get back-to-back wins. And I don't see the Lightning doing it here, so I have them losing to the Hurricanes in 6.
We don't talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros. And if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017 with the Dodgers.
He was close to Frank Reich, and they want Frank Reich back, so that's what they got. It's their discount Frank Reich.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew, Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more.
Hi, this is Julie Dobbs. You're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. The conference finals are set as Edmonton pulled off, I guess you can say, upset over the Canucks, as the Edmonton was not the division winner. They are the only non-division winner to be in the conference finals. And the man that I give my condolences to on the Bruins, Austin.
It's okay, Kevin. I would like to say, though, that there's only been 2 quote-unquote upsets or 2 lower-seeded teams to win a round. It was the Avalanche beating the Jets and then the Oilers beating the Canucks last round. So there's only been 2 lower-seeded teams to win a series. We'll see how that ends up turning out for a team like the Oilers or the Panthers, who are lowest seeded in the conference finals. But we can look back at the second round. Which series do you want to start with?
I kind of want to look at, before we get to Edmonton, let's look at the Rangers and the Hurricanes. We kind of talked about the Rangers and Hurricanes, and I believe we both had the Hurricanes winning this series.
Yeah, I definitely expected Frederik Andersen to play better and their defense to play better. The goaltending was the issue. We mentioned it a lot before. The Rangers took advantage. Chris Kreider, like I've said, he had his first playoff hat trick. Congrats to him. I'm happy for him, and that was in a closeout Game 6 that they were down 3-1 in the third period. So the Oilers avoided the dreaded reverse sweep by the Hurricanes by closing them out on Carolina's home ice and moving on to the next round.
Yeah, and I think we should give credit to the Rangers, who I believe they didn't make it out of the first round last year, did they? Or in the Patrick Kane, because I was at Patrick Kane offense, or did they make it to the second round? Because I know they severely, given what they did with trading for Patrick Kane, getting Tarasenko, they underperformed, and it seems like they're really performing well, especially given the President's Trophy.
Yeah, they lost in 7 to the Devils last year in the first round.
And I want to say they were up at one, like they were up 3-1, 3-2. Well,
they were up. They won the first 2 games, lost the next 2 games, lost the next 3 games. So they were up 2-0 and then lost the series. They were down 3-2, tied it, and then lost in Game 7.
Yeah, okay. So credit to them for kind of rebounding from that. And it seems like Lafreniere, the former number 1 overall pick, has really I made some critical plays. I think he scored a goal and has really turned it on. So credit to them. And then we can go to the Panthers Bruins. We kind of talked about goaltender interference, but the Panthers, again, I don't think we're shocked that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Given what they did last year, it's just now it's more consistent based on their regular season this year.
Yeah, credit to them. They played amazing. There was some, whether it's a Sam Bennett punch of on Brad Marchand or everything else that happened, there was some controversial plays, but the Panthers played really well and they deserved to move on.
Yeah, so we'll preview that Eastern Conference Final in just a little bit. But we'll probably spend a lot of the time on the Stars and Avalanche, as I was really glued onto this series. And you were too. And what a series it is. Colorado is impressive. And we've talked about just how big it was for the Avalanche, given the Western Conference Finals. Same with Winnipeg. But Dallas too. This is the year for Dallas. And they've had a pretty tough road being the number 1 seed. And they've really come through. beating the reigning champ Vegas in round 1, and then facing the previous, or 2 years ago, the Stanley Cup champion, which hadn't been done before in the NHL expansion era. And this was a different series. For me, just looking at it, it looked amazing compared to when I watched Vancouver Edmonton game 7. That seemed kind of sloppy. But with Dallas, Colorado put up a heck of a fight too. Gorgiev made some critical saves. Ottinger was great, but to me, it's kind of the depth of Dallas that we've talked about, and they've made it to the Western Conference Finals again, and hopefully they can advance because I don't think we can talk about enough. This is such a big year. Given Duchesne, this is probably the only year with Duchesne who had a critical goal in OT, and also Pavelski is a free agent. So having those two together while still having Ben and Sagan seems to be playing well, adding in some critical goals. So just if this is one of the best teams the Stars have had in a long time. So it's just, can they capitalize off this?
Yeah, you make good points. We don't know if Pavelski is going to go anywhere else or retire or anything after this year. We don't know yet. And obviously Duchesne is going to be paid a lot more than the $4 million he's getting paid this year because he's played so incredibly well for this team. Very deep. Credit for the Stars, again, losing game 1. This is the now the sixth straight series that they have lost a game 1 in. In those series, they're 4-2. So I guess winning game 1 series doesn't, or game 1 in a series does not necessarily matter, but it's going to be big in this next round against the Oilers. We'll talk about that in a bit. Avalanche played well, but again, the Stars are the deepest team in the league, and their depth really showed. They had a lot of depth scoring. So many guys scored 4 or more points, and I was very impressed with how Ottinger played in the majority of the games during the series.
And then one thing to add, because I know I focus a lot on the Stars, what a critical blow for the Avalanche to miss. To me, game 3 was huge. No, game 4. When Devin Taves
got ill, and Valery Nichushkin was suspended for 6 months.
And Nichushkin is such a great player, and I believe this is the second year in a row something has happened where he's had to step off the ice. And you could feel his impact because they had to reshift lines, and just that shock to the team in game 4. I think it could have gone to a game 7 if Nichushkin was played, but we'll just have to see. Depth was a concern just compared to the Stars, but they excelled on the power play. There was only maybe 2 games, like game 3 and game 4, where they struggled on the power play. Every other time when they had an extra man, they were a threat, and I believe they converted on when they had an extra man, including
the 3 games before game 6. The other 3 games they had lost during the series, they had no power play goals. So the games that they had won, they had scored power play goals. The games they didn't, they ended up losing. Besides game 6, which they ended up scoring a power play goal. If you want more discussion on the goaltender interference, we're not going to talk about it much here. We did a whole video on goaltender interference and discussing why it was so confusing, why the call was what it was. But the Stars, Matt Duchesne and Joe Pavelski, the 2 guys we talked about, maybe on off of the team next year, contribute to the series-ending goal in overtime for Duchesne to put away his former team.
Yeah, what an incredible series. I think I had lost my mind because I was just like, they can't lose after that call. But I'm just glad they were able to pull it out, and we'll see what happens in the Western Conference Finals. We'll get to that preview in a sec. But talk about the Canucks and Edmonton. This went to 7. I turned off game 7 as it just seemed Edmonton was on fire, and I just don't understand how Vancouver couldn't get their offense going.
Well, I mean, it hurts not having Brock Besser. We're doing a video on the Canucks. I think will be posted tomorrow as this video is getting posted on Wednesday. I think that video gets posted on Thursday. But the Canucks had a great series. It was just their offense after losing Besser that they weren't able to do, and they only lost Game 7 by 1 goal. They had so many chances at the end of Game 7. Di Giuseppe had a really open shot. There were some shots that were blocked. Great series by the Oilers. Draisaitl, I don't even know how to explain it. 3 goals and 11 assists in one series, 14 points. 14 points in 7 games. It's just remarkable. McDavid had 9 points, which a lot of people are saying like that's a bad series for McDavid. Well, if 9 points in a series is bad, I think you have to be some level of insane for that. And I've been very impressed with the Oilers offense, but I still believe their defense, their goaltending is subpar. Stuart Skinner during the series in the 5 games he played had an .833 save percentage, which is horrible. So I do think they're definitely going to need better goaltending in the next round for them to win. Their defense, scoring wise, whether it's Evan Bouchard or Mattias Ekholm, Bouchard had 11 points. Ekholm had 5 points in the 7 games, but they don't have the best defensemen at defending, and they're going to need better goaltending. But they survive, whether it was because of the injuries to the Canucks or other. They move on and they face the Stars in the next round.
Yeah, and I kind of want to save that series for the end of the episode. I kind of want to go back to the Eastern Conference Finals and talk about the Panthers Rangers. Can the Rangers break the curse? I know that's like very superstitious, but there's been a pattern, and I'm very curious to see, do the Panthers knock out the President's Trophy winner again the second year in a row and advance to the Stanley Cup final once again? And I'm very curious, what do you think are the keys to winning this series for both teams, Austin?
It's going to come down to a lot of goaltending. Can Shesterkin or Bobrovsky steal this series? I think Shesterkin's been the best goaltender all series. Him and Swayman or been all playoffs. And Shesterkin, I think, could really steal this series. The defense for both of these teams is good, but I do think the Rangers with Adam Fox is definitely better. Fox has played well this postseason, and I'm excited to see how he'll play in the next round because he is such a good player. With the Rangers as well, they have so many options offensively that it's a scary, scary team. It's a scary team to face. And Lafreniere is finally coming into his own. He had 6 points in 6 games against the Hurricanes and is looking really good. Kreider had 5 goals in their last series. It's going to come up to depth scoring, which both teams have. I'm excited to see how some of these players play for Florida. They have more experience, but both of these teams have played in the conference finals before. A lot of the players have for both of these teams because they made it recently, 2 years ago for the Rangers and last year for Florida. Florida, Tkachuk is going to have to play well. He's had 14 points in the 11 playoff games he's played thus far. Verhaeghe's played extremely well, leads the team in goals during the postseason with 6. Anton Lundell, I think, is another underrated young guy. But it's going to come down to goaltending. During these playoffs, Bobrovsky's not been himself. 902 save percentage is okay. It's been fine. He's had some good series, some bad series, some bad games, some good games. But he led the league in shutouts this year, and he's not playing like that during the postseason. He had 6 shutouts, which, again, led the league. He has 0 shutouts so far in the playoffs. While Igor, this playoffs has been remarkable. He's had some huge saves, has a .923 save percentage. And while he has no shutouts, he's held a lot of teams to 1 goal in multiple games. He's 8-2 in his 10 starts. Only lost those 2 games, which were game 4 and 5 against Carolina. I think the Rangers end up winning this series in a close battle, but like you said, President's Trophy curse, will it come true? Or will the Rangers overcome it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's going to be an exciting series. I think both these series have a chance to be very exciting. And yeah, we'll have to see what the Rangers can do. They've only lost 2 games this playoffs. Florida 3, but the Rangers had a sweep, and then they just lost 2 times to Carolina. But very excited to see where that series goes. But now we'll go to the Stars versus Edmonton. This is another tough challenge for the Stars because of the speed of McDavid and Draisaitl. I'm very curious to see how Roope Hintz's injury is progressing. Also, Yanni Hakanpää, he did not skate. I know Hintz skated Monday, as that was reported, because the Stars before Game 7 had been doing basically 2 minutes of Nils Lundkvist, then 5 major defensemen taking the major time, but then they had Alexander Petrovic in Game 7 who played well.
Game 6.
Game 6. Oh, yeah, Game 6. My bad. The closeout game, Petrovic was playing, and they faced speed with the Avalanche. And
Well, the
they
Avalanche
also,
are the fastest team in the league because Miles Wood and Nathan McKinnon are two of the fastest players in the league, easily. While Draisaitl's fast, he's not Miles Wood or Nathan McKinnon fast. Now, McDavid is probably one of the fastest players in the league, no doubt. But if we're talking, and both of those teams are very comparable. I don't think the Stars are all that worried about speed. They just have to play their game. The Oilers will score goals. They have two of the best players in the world. I think top 3 forwards in the league. It's just I'd probably go McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl, Kucherov, probably Matthews or Pastrnak at that 5 spot. But we'll go over that during the offseason. But it's just the goaltending for the Oilers is significantly worse, and that is the true advantage that the Stars have. The Stars have a very good offense, one of the best offenses in the league this season. If we go just by goals for, the Stars were second in the West. They had more goals for than the Oilers this past year while allowing less goals. The Stars are definitely the better team because of their goaltending. Otto's going to have a big series, and again, they're not going to shut out Edmonton. It's not going to happen because Edmonton is so good. But during these playoffs, Stuart Skinner has an .881 save percentage, while Ottinger has I believe, is it 918? I will check right now. During the 918, I was correct. 918 during the postseason. He's been remarkable. The Stars' offense is very good, very similar to the Oilers. They have a lot of guys that can score. Both of these teams do. The difference is the Stars have better defensemen, better defensive players, and the significantly better goaltender. I think the Stars win this series. It'll be close. The Oilers have the better 2 players in this series, but if you go look at defensemen, Miro is significantly better than Elise Bouchard, defensively speaking, while still being a great offensive guy. And the goaltending will define this series. I'm excited for it because McDavid and Draisaitl can always take it over, but it's really, really hard to be the only guys on your team contributing because they do have Bouchard and Hyman, other guys scoring points or scoring goals. Again, their defense is subpar. And even with a lot of injuries that the Canucks had, they had a 5-goal game, a 4-goal game. They've had significantly higher goal games. And the Stars scored a lot of goals against good defensive teams. They had 4 goals against Vegas. They had 5 goals against the Avalanche. It's not impossible for the Stars to score 6-7 goals in a game this series because their offense is so deep. Again, we mentioned it multiple times. They're the first team in NHL history to have 8 20-goal scorers. And again, the goaltending for the Oilers, I don't believe in it. It's been subpar for years now, and they haven't addressed it, and that will come back to bite you. It's the most important position in sports.
Yeah, I agree with all you said. I also think the Stars' offense is starting to heat up. Pavelski's starting to saw it go through the net in Game 5, and it seems like Duchesne finally got on the board. Sagan and Ben. It seems like the offense is starting to get rolling from multiple lines, and then defense. You mentioned Miro. Tanev has been amazing. Also, Lindell and Tanev were paired with the McKinnon line, and they did a fantastic job. Tanev, what a deal that was to get him at the deadline. And he's, I think, surpassed expectations because we talked about the need for a defenseman for the Stars, as we've mentioned just how big of a year it was. My fear is just you're going against, you mentioned 2 of the best top 3 forwards in the game. To me, that's just you're playing a lot with one series if Skinner gets hot or if some goalie finds, because I know that if Skinner didn't play all the games, there was another goalie for Edmonton.
But in those games, Picard played better than Skinner, but they still decided to go back to Skinner. Picard had, I'll double check it real quick. I believe he had a 915 save percentage in the 2 games, but they decided to go away from him and go back to Skinner. And again, Skinner goal against average almost 3 at 2.9. While Picard was 2.21. I just don't trust the goaltending for the Oilers.
It's just like if something can happen with their goaltending where it's working, then I'm scared of their offense. But we'll just have to see what happens. So I think it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be a joy to watch to see McDavid and Draisaitl, even though I will be freaking out. And then we'll review what happens, and we'll let you know and keep you updated. I'll toss this over to you, Austin, to close it out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know who you have winning in both of the conference finals matchups, and please catch us in the next video.